This is a meditation that was inspired by Richard Rudd around compassionately deactivating. So as many of us know, trauma patterns are repeated every 7-year cycle. This is so that we can untangle them and allow them to come to a compassionate closure. Of course, there are exceptions and there are people who slide in and out for different reasons. So there will always be these exceptions. But when we think about our radiance, this is our karmic destiny, our legacy. So we may get a lot of insights as we look into our gene keys, because we're looking at all the good deeds that we've done throughout our life. And so now here in this meditation, as we begin to disengage, we begin to go on a reverie of thinking of all the things that we have done. Not the mistakes. They've already gone down the river and they're gone. But when these trinities in our body separate, these lower 3 chakras, this lower trinity, which is our physical, our astral and mental bodies, when they dissipate, they go off into their planes. They disentangle and they return to their planes. But the causal body, this body retains every good thing that you've ever said or done, so that we can only evolve. Our soul can only grow brighter. That residue that you leave behind, it is karmic, and it will create an impulse that will affect the direction your life goes in. Our soul is always polishing itself every lifetime, and that is what you leave behind. That is what is returned. Those little astral entities that we've propagated or attracted in our life, they get returned, a drop to the ocean. In a way, the way that we're working, the work that we're really doing, is actually purifying the astral plane. Because we're working to purify the desire plane, this astral plane. And so every single being that does this trauma work, that starts to activate that path of service through the pearl, through the pathway to individuation, this is a purification of the astral plane. And the purer that plane becomes, the more the Buddha plane appears, and the more cracks appear between life and death. And we'll get to that place where the planes meet, that transcendent point, that portal of death, where life changes and it no longer exists. It's an illusion. At one level, when we leave this body, we realize that. On the soul level, we remember. We remember that we are in this timeless vehicle of the soul. We remember that we are connected to the unified field, while also having its own memory. This eternal voyager, this cosmic vagabond, one day will become a deity, will become a star. These beings who have attained synarchy, synthesis, perfection, enlightenment, wholeness, An angel can even be seen as a collective unit. These monadic creatures become wider and broader as we come into community with our angels, with other awakened beings. When the veil is this thin, magic can come through. Big transformations can happen toward the end. And as we let go of our lower vehicles, this lower trinity is dissipating inside of us. We realize we have to surrender. We have no choice. And we let go of the evolution, and we let go of our challenge. We've done our best, and we get to let it go. The ego starts to dissolve with the challenge. Maybe we realize that the ego has already been dissolving at an unconscious level, whether or not we know it. We come in and we leave from a 9 months cycle. We find the true meaning of our life. It starts to come to us. We start to see our higher purpose. Did we achieve it? If we didn't, we're about to arrive back into it again. The Divine Mother is always there waiting for us. This primordial Mother who's always there. This loving group of beings of light. This pair of open arms that takes you in and says, well done. You made it. Again. We come back into the womb of the next month, and we continue on our journey. This is the spiritual allegory of life and our 9-month cycle back to the beginning, back into our death sequence. Here we are going backwards, reversed through the Bardo states. I invite you to drift away however you wish and just enjoy yourself. Maybe soften your gaze or close down your eyes. And it's okay if you open them in the middle of this. I always find that in deep meditation, when we really get into that deep space, you can open your eyes and you can stay in that space. And then you can close your eyes and you can stay in that space. So close your eyes and begin to do a few breaths and just prepare yourself as though you really are going to let go of this body. Just open up to that idea. This is our practice today. This is our practice for dying. Imagine you are beginning that 9-month journey of letting go. And in some ways, it's going to mirror the 9-month journey of how you came in. So there is going to be a perfection to the timing of your exit. And it's going to have a relationship to the timing of your entrance. And because of that, you can feel safe. Because you know that you are in the hands of an ordering consciousness that really knows what it's doing. So you can feel completely safe that you're in the hands of this being, this light, and that your body knows how to do this. And actually, it could be a quite illuminating journey. It can be quite magical. So, the first sense we begin to lose and then let go of is our sense of sight. Our eyes adjust to the light, the inner light. Begin to subtly become aware of an inner light. And the sight sight is very linked through our visual cortex to language and memory. And so slowly, as our outer sight begins to loosen, our inner sight begins to become more lucid. And as we begin to let go of our connection to the objects around us, the memories, the people, a part of us starts to see the essence of us, the highest capacity of sight, the essence of our soul, even as our frame is letting go of the context of our lives, the visual, the spectrum. The inner sight starts just faintly beginning to become aware of the essence. This is a process that will continue with us for the next 9 months. Very subtle. Even though it looks like we're forgetting things or losing touch with things around us, we are actually becoming more in touch with an essence somewhere deep inside us that may not be visible to people on the outside. But nonetheless, the process will continue. So become aware of that inner light. Perhaps you can see the swirling of the geometries. Maybe you can see many things. Maybe you begin to let go of pets you used to live with, or places you used to live. Maybe they all start to swim up in your consciousness, and this is a process of letting them go gently. Part of the fabric of the illusion, of the simulation created by the senses as we journeyed here on earth. And we drop a bit deeper. We let go of those things willingly, maybe even with a sense of gratitude for each one as they come up, as though piece by piece we are disassembling the jigsaw puzzle of our life and our attachment to each of those memories. And the next sense overlaid and connected into sight, because they're all connected inside us, is sound. The inner ear. We have an inner ear. And slowly we begin to hear sounds all around us. But we start to let go of our mind's interpretation of those sounds. So we might hear someone talking, but slowly we don't realize what it is they're saying. We just hear the frequency of the sound, and it can be very beautiful. Initially, it can also be a bit frightening, but then we can let go of that fear. We feel the frequency coming through someone's sound. We hear the pure frequency of the sound of the wind, or the cars driving by, or all those sounds. And instead of being interpreted as you hear the sound of a car and you think car, you no longer know what it is. You just stop distinguishing through language. And a deeper world of frequency appears. This happens often in our sleep. It is our highest capacity to start hearing harmonies where before we didn't. So suddenly the sound of a car or a siren is no longer something that creates alarm in us. It actually just sits there, right, in the field of harmony, higher harmony. It can even appear beautiful to the inner ear. Perfectly timed sirens or a perfectly timed bird song. And all the songs around us are connected. All the sounds are connected to us. This echolocation, this inner ear, knowing where we are. So slowly we begin to lose that sense of knowing where we are. Gradually, sight begins to disassociate from the objects, even the sun. But also the soundscape changes and becomes a unified field. At the highest level, perhaps toward the end, we might even hear the harmony of the spheres, and all sound is experienced as ecstasy. That is the highest possibility of an enlightened death, an enlightened letting go. And then the next sense that we let go of, also intermingled, of course, is the sense of smell. And the sense of smell through our pheromones connects us to all kinds of chemistries and relationships. So all the smells disconnect us. We start to disconnect from those people who are around us. The familiar. Letting go of food. Letting go of the smell of food. Letting go of the smell of a place, a familiar place, a culture that we live in. And we can even be walking around while this is happening. Slowly, everything that's been familiar begins to fall away. It's become a part of who we are, and we don't even notice it until we let go of it. And again, this can be frightening at the beginning, and then we let go. And then the ego starts to dissolve, and we realize we're entering into a field that's very inviting to our soul. That's spaciousness. And it calls us as strongly as the part of us that still wants to stay connected. We still love those that we're leaving. But there's the soul being pulled into the arms of the mother, the unmanifest, and we feel the paradox. I want to stay because I love these beings, but I also want to return to this deeply familiar place. And we enter into this field of pure trust. So smell is critical and key, which is why we lose interest in what we eat so much. Or we begin to want to eat things that we had as a child, because we were returning to that same sequence. Those smells, the final smell of the mother's milk. That smell may come back very strongly, even if our mother is gone. We really remember our mother strongly as we get toward the end. Her smell was everything as we came in. So we enter into that smell, the comfort of our mother. And we have to let go of that smell. But as we do, we enter into a far deeper mother, this divine mother. And now we realize that that scent was simply an echo of what wasn't nearly as powerful as this deep mother. And here we're pulled into this place of deep harmony, the place of our soul, and the familiar starts to dissipate. And the next layer is taste. Taste developed early in our second trimester. Our taste led to our individuality, our uniqueness, our predispositions, the things that we were drawn to that made us unique, the basis of our uniqueness in this life. Again, that became frightening as we let go of this thing that made us unique, our rebellious nature, our preference, our taste, our particular struggles and goals, the things that we were drawn to, all the people and all the places. And as that starts to go, we think we're disappearing into nothing. But slowly that fear that creeps in dissolves. We let go of our individuality and we reach unity. So we have to let go of that thing that's so precious to us, that thing that makes us feel so different, so unique from others, our genetic predispositions, the differentiation of taste, the highest capacity there is to brace this unified consciousness, the unity of all beings. So as we drop deeper into this open, void space, which feels so inviting, feels so comforting, it's not frightening to us. This pulls us in like a magnet. We're drawn to it. And we finally come into this final sense, our sense of touch. And touch is connected to time. Because when we move, then we know that we exist. And we float in the mother's uterus in the womb. We feel our movement. We feel the movement of our limbs, the flickering of our body, of the heartbeat. And that touches everything. That touch is evidence that we exist. So when we stop moving, and when we lie still for long periods of time, we begin to forget that we exist. And that can be frightening at the beginning. But then, soon, it dissolves that fear. Because that purity of being is something we begin to fall into as we let go of being a doer of anything that's left in us. And we enter into that state of pure being, so welcoming. And we go through the portals of non-being, where being and non-being meet. We have to step through that final moment. And that's the portal. That is the final breath. Feel your final breath. Let's take a deep breath together. Feel your final breath and let it go. Exhale. Feel that smile washing over your face. Leave a smile behind as your legacy Enter into the arms of the mother, into the pure remembrance of the world of soul. Time is gone. Now we're in eternal time, which doesn't exist. We are in eternity. Our home. Our home is eternity. That's our only home. Feel the relief at some point as we return home to rest in eternity. As we embrace the unity of all beings, everything is here. Everyone is here. Whether in form or out of form, it is all there. The unity of beings, the harmony of the spheres, this deep, pure consciousness, the lovingness of the universe, the perfection and order of the universe. This is deep trust. This is trust beyond trust. Trust is gone. We are trust. There is no distrust here. There are no shadows here. There just is. And we rest in that monadic one point. The point and the radiance of our soul at rest. In the in-between. In the eternal in-between. The deep, deep pause. Many things can happen in this pause. You can be met by beings. Maybe here you're greeted by beings. You can unpack some of the memories of the existence of the last life you lived. You know, it's said that life flashes before you in the eternal instant. You see everything clearly. You remember everything with pristine clarity. Everything you did, said, felt, instantly, in an eternal moment. And you're grateful for it. There may be some sifting through these bardo processes. A little journey where you look in depth at some of the shadows, at some of the mistakes, at some of the hurt you caused. And you look at that honestly, but with the lens of a compassion so great that in that moment you learn everything there is to know from that. Your soul learns, and it takes it all in. It's a process in eternal time, in the timeless space. And after some time, no time, perhaps you decide that your pause has been long enough. At some level, the trajectory of your soul is ready, just like on a roller coaster. It's ready for another ride. It gets to the top of one of those really long hills and takes a deep breath and says, "Whew, here we go. I'm going back in. And now, when you're ready, and only when you are ready, you may open your eyes and smile. Wow! You're in another one. Back from the dead. It really happens that fast. This is a meditation about play, sacred play, practicing. We don't really know what happens in all of those after-death states, but the near-death experience speaks to this process of sifting at a soul level. And the Tibetans have a great knowledge through these bardo states. This certain point before our physical death, we enter this bardo sequence, and our body leaves the 3 lower frequency. The causal body becomes so bright, it gets pulled up into those higher bodies. And then you can no longer come back. The soul enters into a higher evolution, and you are off on a whole other journey that we don't know much about. This is the idea of returning to the mandala of the souls, to rekindle, to be remembered, yoked again with everyone we've ever met and ever loved. Sending you so much love as we come back into this state. Maybe a smile washing over your face. Maybe one more pause with this next breath of this cellular remembrance. This gratitude for this finite time that you get to be here. You made the choice to be here. And now here you are again, another ride on the roller coaster. I love you. Namaste.